Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So grateful to have some time with you today on this Thursday on YWTV. As you know, we're all about engaging, inspiring, and educating here on YWTV. And today is no different. We have another great conversation for you. Those of you who have been following us know that we've been spending our Thursdays devoted to our Share the Mic Now campaign, which is a national effort that is designed to amplify the voices, stories, and impact of Black women in our communities. And as such, we are sharing our social media platform with some wonderful women in our community to be able to introduce them to you. We are so thrilled today to have with us Nathalie Waite. She is the Director of Graduate Student Affairs of Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken since 2013. And over the course of her career, she has had many professional accomplishments, including developing a comprehensive support program for international students, for women, and other underserved communities to support transition into advanced and terminal degree programs. She also established access for cultural organizations to gain access to institutional funding and integration, community-wide programming efforts, and launched four successful graduate and professional leadership programs to support student advancement in areas of personal growth, career development, and leadership skills. As someone who is an adjunct professor at Montclair State University, I actually fully understand the important and incredible work that Nathalie is doing. And I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to speak with her today. Welcome, Nathalie.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Helen.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you. So Nathalie, tell us a little bit about your work over at at Stevens. You've been there since 2013. That's a good chunk of time already.
A good chunk of time, but thankfully no day is the same.
Yes.
When I joined Stevens, I started working with our undergraduate student population, specifically working with sorority and fraternity life, as well as women's programs and conduct. So those were my primary areas. And being affiliated with a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, it made that transition just even more meaningful for me. But as life has evolved and I became, a life partner to my husband Sheldon, and I became a mom to my dynamic duo Xavier and Alexander, that work was something that didn't fit very well with my family life expectations. So I transitioned to working with our master's and doctoral programs at Stevens on the academic side of the institution. So I still have the privilege to work with students and helping them attain their academic goals, but in a very different way. It's a deeper dive into their academic desires as opposed to undergraduates, where you're helping them really develop all of their competencies while they're trying to start their education or continue their education. So.
Yeah, I actually understand exactly what you're talking about, because I work both in the undergraduate and a master's program. So I work with the two different populations, and I see the difference as well. It definitely is a different mindset to guide them.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So as you know, Share the Mic is about a conversation to amplify the voice of Black women in our community. And what I loved about the suggestion, and shout out to Hollis Thomas, our YW board vice president, who made the connection to introduce us for this conversation today. What I love about speaking to you is not only getting to hear about your personal experience, but also you are really in such an interesting position with your job. To be supporting, Black women and women of color as well in their higher education and their graduate education careers. So I'm excited to talk with you about all of it. But with that, as you know, what has been your experience in your role since we started talking there a little bit, in terms of helping and what you've seen in terms of racism, systemic racism, and not necessarily just in your current institution, but,
right.
Across the board in higher education, and how have you tried to be a change agent in terms of addressing what you've seen?
I think when we look at some of the walls or challenges that come into play, and I'll speak specifically from my lens as a Black woman, one of the biggest challenges is going into educational spaces and finding individuals that you can identify with. And that's not limited to the Black female experience.
Mhm.
It transitions for women across the board, men and women, and those who don't identify in those categories. And so I think what I've strived to do is to work to create spaces for students to be able to see themselves, whether it's through myself or the spaces that we create for them, so that this doesn't become a hindrance for them for their academic success. Currently working at a STEM serving institution, there are so many groups of students who struggle to find that mentorship because they're looking for something not only that will connect them academically or from a research perspective, but they're also trying to get a human connection as well.
Mhm.
And so one of the ways that we've been able to do that at Stevens, about 2 years ago, I worked with my team to develop a peer mentor program. And so we use more than just academic discipline as connectors for students. We have students who are parents. We have students who have learning differences. But what I found is those students who want to have a cultural connection are yearning for that very
Mhm.
much so. When we look at the numbers of Black men and women in the STEM serving fields, the numbers are not as substantial as we look at other groups.
Mhm.
So my commitment to my students when they come in, and this is open to anyone, but again, from the lens of being
Yeah.
a woman of color, is what can I do to support you? You may not have a faculty member who is going to reflect those identities, but what can we as an institution do in terms of resources and supplemental experiences, give you the support that you'll need to not just complete the program, but have a meaningful educational experience. Because I think that's what many um, students of color, when they go to predominantly white institutions, they're missing out on some of those connections. I am a proud alum of Ramapo College of New Jersey, and my community that I built was in an EOF office, the Educational Opportunity Fund. I wasn't an EOF student. I wasn't eligible for EOF, but it was a space that I was able to find and build community so that my educational experience had more depth and it helped to anchor me to the institution. And I think that's what's important for students to be able to have that support system, especially if they're not commuting, that they're away from their families. So identity plays a huge part for students in terms of academic success. It does play a role.
So what that's a wonderful point, and thank you for sharing your personal story of how you found that community for yourself. It's making me think of young people, and I know now you're working more in the graduate space, but it's making me think more about young people and also graduate students when they do come onto a campus. Obviously, you were able to make that link for yourself and create that community, and it really enhanced your experience, at Ramapo. Clearly, from what you're saying, what are some suggestions for students to be able to, who want to make a link like that? How can they, some ideas on how to find, their place?
A lot of it, I think, from an academic perspective, is to get to know who your professors are. Many times, they have access and connections that could actually be cultural based and support research or ideology or access to information, just by that engagement and sharing what your interests are. Um, Connecting with the administration at your institution, you should know who your dean of students is. Again, I'll reference back to Ramapo. It was an open gym night that I met Dr. Patrick Chang, and he was the one who connected me with our Black Student Union and the Caribbean Club and gave me those opportunities to make the choices that I needed to navigate my 3 years at Ramapo. And so I think for students, it's really building community, but a lot of that takes courage. It takes courage to really introduce yourself to people, to establish time management, because your priority is your education. But again, the experience supplements your learning. And I think it's those interactions and those experiences that allow us to go against the grain of of implicit bias, when we challenge ourselves to build up our identities, but also exploring to understand how other people function, how other people live. And so you captured one of the words that I had shared with you in the promotional pieces about reimagining.
Mm.
And so I think especially in this environment that we're living in currently, we have to reimagine how we do things. And for students, their minds are just so open. You know, their access to information is so different than when we were students. So it's really reimagining, how do you connect with people and how do you take those experiences to develop you as an individual? Because college is usually just about 4 years and you don't get to do anything like that again. So how will you use your time to develop yourselves and then go out into the world and impact and impart change?
So it's interesting, and I think about my role as a professor when I'm talking to students, and Montclair State, where I teach, is a diverse community for sure. But I have to say, I wonder, and I wonder this across the board in all colleges and universities, how many professors are integrating into their curriculum and into their lessons conversations about disparities and disproportionality and systemic racism and implicit bias and all these important conversations. I know I happen to teach in a program that it's an essential part of our conversation, so I always include a module in my teaching on it, no matter what class that I'm teaching, and integrate it. But I'm wondering how we, in our various roles can, are you seeing that from other professors? Because I think that that's meaningful for students that are sitting in the classroom to hear those discussions. If we are ever really going to impact these issues, we have to get at it from lots of different places.
Absolutely. Being at Stevens currently, we are a STEM serving institution, but we do have a growing and thriving College of Arts and Letters. And so what that does is it provides those students who are in your traditional STEM track opportunity to take classes that are in your social sciences and your humanities. And that's where we're seeing the growth in particular at Stevens. But what has been the most rewarding is that it's not a requirement yet. Students are actually taking the initiative to do it. And so when we look at social sciences and the impact that they can have on your natural sciences and your STEM serving programs, there is a connection. And so students are able to look at some of the issues that they're working with in research labs and being able to use the content that they're learning from their humanities classes or social sciences and being able to integrate that. And I think as institutions really see the partnership in this sort of learning, you're going to have scientists, you're going to have mathematicians, and those that are in the technology and even in the business areas that are able to use these skill sets and these positions to interact and work better. It's really an interdisciplinary necessity.
Yes.
Because even if you're working in a lab, you're going to have to at some point interact with another person. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have what, I dislike the term, but the soft skills, yeah, to be able to interact and to have these interdisciplinary conversations and exchanges, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your growth, you're limiting your outcomes. And so at Stevens, at the undergraduate level, there have been ways that the non-academic arm of the institution from student affairs have been working to integrate these sort of diversity and inclusion opportunities for students to really weave it into the fabric of their experiences. And at the graduate level, we do a lot of work with our International Student and Scholar Service Department to do programming that will create space for diversity and inclusion. As we have a huge focus right now on the experiences of Black students on our campus, we're looking at what are ways, I should say, the committee that's been put in place are looking at ways to create opportunities for conversation. And that's going to be critical for moving forward in any academic discipline. And students can really be the fuel behind that.
Yes, I agree. I don't think it matters what you're teaching as a professor. And I send this message out there to all professors. It doesn't matter what area, what discipline you're in. racism is everywhere.
Right.
And it's important that you talk about how it's impacting your area, and make sure that, we are helping our students understand that, because again, we're our goal is to launch them out there, to with information and education in their fields, and they can be the change agents because of information that we share with them. And I especially find with undergraduates, although I find it with my master's students as well, that they really look to their professors as mentors.
Absolutely.
And so we are, in that leadership role, we have a responsibility to be talking about these issues as well. So
and I'm hoping as programs change and academicians are being pushed out into industry, that if it's even at the onboarding level, that they're given the understanding of the importance of diversity and inclusion, and how to incorporate that into the classroom, into the labs, whatever entity they're interacting with students, being cognizant of the value of diversity and inclusion, and having those conversations about implicit bias, and really putting forth not just their job, but really serving as educators in the post-secondary arena. Definitely.
For sure. Well, I thank you for sharing so much about your institution, but I also want to talk about you and your life experience separate from that part of your identity.
Yes.
Obviously, you shared. We know you're an active woman in your community, active in different organizations. You're a mom. You're a wife. You're a daughter. So tell me a little bit about your life experience and how everything that has obviously you've lived your experience. I'm sure. Dealing with racism around you. How is it that it's impacted you and impacted, the way that you're living your life? And what messages can you share with our viewers to, to share your life experience a bit?
I think from my life experience, what has been most impactful is being a first generation a person here in the U.S. My parents migrated from Jamaica in the early 70s. So that has impacted my experience, and kind of given me a dual perspective in how I've tried to navigate life. And so one of the things that was instilled, and I'm trying to impart that on my children as well, is the importance of education. And most people are taken aback from me saying this, but it's not always a traditional classroom setting. It's not always going to be a 4-year degree, but it's acquiring knowledge of self and being able to use that to establish life for yourself. And so while I am very proud of my educational advancements, attending Teachers College, holding a degree from Stevens, and I don't know how, trying to work on a doctoral degree at St. Thomas University, these are things that kind of inspire me to move forward. I don't think I will try to achieve any other educational advancements after this, but I see the value in it because it affords me access to spaces, sometimes spaces that people aren't comfortable with me being in. And so that is my way of imparting change in my community and in the spaces that I work in, and for the students that I support. Having a seat at a table where there is no representation, bringing a voice to conversations and sitting on committees, whether they're institutional or organizations local to our community, having a seat at the table to bring perspective. And sometimes it's being an aggregate, being that annoying voice, that uncomfortable voice, because I think it's absolutely necessary. And then the other area is exploring entrepreneurship. Since COVID, I've really thought about what else could I be doing to sustain myself financially, but also how could this influence and support other people? So looking at offering educational experiences and information regarding financial and generational wealth to women and in underserved communities is something that I'm putting together. And then my husband and I have also, with the help of a close friend, creating an organization called Yard and Foreign, Yard being Jamaica, Foreign being wherever you are in the world, in this case, the United States, and creating educational content. We're looking at some in print and others in digital and social media to expose the experiences of the Caribbean, starting with Jamaica, but really looking at the entire diaspora and how our presence here in the United States has influenced and supported the fabric that is this country. So it's something that we're working on and very excited. Our boys are excited because our hope is to integrate them into this journey with us as well.
Well, that's a amazing, individual impact that you are, creating there for your entire family to be part of. Very, very impressive. And please keep us posted on it. YWCA is very committed. As you may know, we've brought the Bergen County Black to Business Network under our umbrella, and we're very committed in supporting Black women and women of color in their business efforts and their entrepreneurship efforts as well, because we do understand that, there's many roads to eliminating racism, but one of them is definitely impacting the disparate wealth, the disparities in wealth in this country. And, we're looking to be able to support the change in that area.
Absolutely.
So our organization, as you know, our mission is to eliminate racism, part of our mission, in addition to empower women. Obviously, you've outlined a personal journey that you, your husband, and your family, and ways that you're working to do that for yourselves and for your family. When you think about an organization like ours and ways that we can make an impact in eliminating racism, what are some ideas or inspirations that come to mind to help us?
I think this is a great foundation to build from. Some of the things that I guess it's sharing programming that I've done that I found that has had impact. One of the programs that I've done is called Wine by Women, and we found something that was very central that could have conversation. And what I found is that women who didn't even drink wine came to this event. Mm-hmm. And so it's finding opportunities and common elements amongst people to bring us together. We've had sister circles on campus in particular. And then I think to my own personal life last night, for example, I was with a gathering of friends that live here in the town that I'm in, and the diversity of the group was just so impactful and empowering because each of us had a different story. Mm-hmm. And I think when we're able to be in spaces where we can hear each other's story and experiences, it allows us to kind of re-understand and our perceptions become a bit more malleable. We're not always as hard, fast in what we believe or the associations that we have, the implicit biases that we have, because we've had an experience that's afforded us another perspective. And so I think opportunities for conversation, for engagement and understanding is always the way to go. Sometimes it's a captive audience, sometimes it's a conversation, but it's really creating those spaces and exposing people to what they don't have the opportunity to understand. That I think with, again, what you're doing here is continuing in that vein of reaching out to open experiences for people to have a greater understanding.
Well, we're so appreciative that you were open to sharing your story today, and we will continue to be using our platform as an opportunity to do that. I agree that that's where we can hopefully move this issue forward and get to the point that we can eliminate racism and work on hopefully other issues, that need attention. But right now, this is where all of our efforts need to be focused for sure. And I also want to share, for anyone who watched yesterday, we had 3 young women with us who were part of they were young activists connected to a Northern New Jersey high school. And 2 of them had gone off to college. And as I was interviewing them yesterday and thinking about talking with Nathalie today, I was just thinking, and I had mentioned this to Nathalie earlier before we started, I was thinking about that connection of these young activists that had, taken their interests and tried to make some change in their community, and now, have taken all that they've learned and are going to their college campuses this fall as seniors. And, how wonderful it is that they end up with people like Nathalie to help guide them and continue their journey and their social action and the work that they're doing.
Amazing. Yeah.
so much for the work that you're doing, no matter whether it is with undergrads or grad students. The linkages and the support that you're giving people, is creating such opportunity in their lives for sure.
And it helps me grow as well. So it's a great partnership.
Well, I'm so thankful. I also wanted to take this opportunity today to do a few shout outs. From a recent Share the Mic, we had Tiffany Kerr on, and I wanted to share with all of you that her book is out. I am very grateful to have a copy right here. It is as chic and pink and beautiful and fierce as she is. And I hope that you all go get your copy of Chic Situations, Create, Embrace, and Enjoy Life's Chic Situations. Please go check out Tiffany Kerr's book. She was wonderful to speak to as well. And I know Nathalie knows her. And
Yes.
so, check it out now that it's available to you. It's available on Amazon. You just have to Google it and definitely stick it in your library and keep connected to it. So shout out to Tiffany. Congratulations. She had a great virtual book signing in the time of COVID. And it's out. It's out. So definitely check it out. I also want to share some other great news. Those of you who've watched some of our recent shows, Theodora Lacey was on with us recently, and she is a friend and mentor and inspiration to us at the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. She recently, a school in Teaneck, the Teaneck Eugene Field School, was renamed the Theodora Smiley Lacey School. A very well-deserved honor. We will be posting about this on our social media page, but I just wanted to shout it out here too. So wonderful to see Ms. Lacey be honored in this way. Her entire life really, and her family, she's really grown them to be such service to the community. And the impact that she's made on her local community in Teaneck has been incredible. And this is such a wonderful honor. I also want to share, if you are not aware, Governor Murphy signed some legislation this week criminalizing false race-based 911 calls, and that misusing our 911 system to intimidate people of color is obviously discrimination, and now people will be held accountable for doing that. So, shout out to our governor for signing this legislation and for our leadership here in New Jersey for seeing and understanding that this is a priority and important to all the citizens here in New Jersey. So we thank them for that. And last but definitely not least, we have history happened here in New Jersey. Fabiana Pierre-Louis was sworn in as our very first Black woman state Supreme Court, on the state Supreme Court and judge. And we are so amazing that we get to finally have this amazing woman as a role model for women and for Black women here in New Jersey. And so excited to have her leadership. So that's a great way to get us for a holiday weekend. We got this wonderful conversation and time with Nathalie. We got to reflect on some of these great happenings like Chic Situations coming out and the Theodora Lacey School and this great legislation. Yes, a lot happening. But here's the reality, folks. There's a lot more that needs to happen, a lot more work to do. And we hope that you join us to do it. We want everyone to take part in our 21-day Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge. It's easy. All you have to do is put your name and your email address in the link. We'll include it in the comments here. And for 21 business days, you will receive an email from the YWCA that has a podcast, an article, a video, and a reflection to help you communicate, educate, engage. We are looking to activate our community, and this is a wonderful way for you to learn more about racial equity and social justice and how you can be part of the change. It's wonderful that people change their Black box on their social media and that people have been engaging in conversations. But the statistics actually show that people have, and white people in particular, have dropped off on activity now since, you know, when the height of it was a few weeks ago and months ago. We can't drop off. You know, our Black and brown communities need us. And this is something we all need to be working on together. So we encourage everyone to sign up for the Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge. Please tell your friends at work. We have some wonderful employers that have sent it out to everyone on their staff and asked them to be part of it. We have nonprofits that are sending it out to all of their volunteers in the community. We have faith-based institutions that are doing it together. It is something you can do collectively or individually. I see our friend Tevra Francis has signed up. Woo, Tevra! Bergen and Color, check them out too, folks. But lots of important information there, so please sign up. And Empower University for our young women. We are working to cultivate those voices. We have a 10-month leadership opportunity. They'll meet over 60 women in our community, as well as learn important skills like growing their voices, money management, you know, making sure that they understand about healthy body image, the environment, climate issues, all, you know, all important conversations. So please think about any young women in your life that are going to be in 10th grade, sophomores in high school. They can apply online through September 20th to be part of this 10-month experience that the YWCA is offering. And scholarships are available for the experience if needed. Remember, Election Day is coming. Vote and register. You've got a little bit more time for that, and make sure that you understand about voting by mail. We'll be doing a little tutorial on that as it gets closer again, but figure out, you know, all the things you need to know so that you're ready. Vote.org is a great place to get information. And a few more weeks on your census, folks. Please make sure you're filling those out. Okay, we had a great week, great conversations, and what a wonderful ending to spend it with Nathalie. Thank you so much again for sharing your perspective. And, you know, we wish lots of luck to you and your husband on your personal endeavor, and know that we're here to partner and support.
And we are also a resource to the YWCA, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We look forward to working more with you and you all hearing more about Nathalie's work there as well.
Awesome.
Hey, everyone, have a great holiday weekend. Stay safe, stay socially distant, wear your masks, get out there, get some fresh air, have some fun. Hopefully the sun will be shining, but even if it isn't, try to surround yourself safely with your loved ones, and stay healthy. And we'll see you next week. Be well.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.